Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello and welcome.
Hello.
Radio and TV, they dominate our lives, don't they? Soap operas, sitcoms, dramas, news, documentaries, quiz shows, educational programs. Almost everything we know about the world comes to us through the media. And people spend more and more of their time just sitting, watching TV and listening to the radio.
Well, I wonder if that's really true. I've been asking people this question. How many hours a day do you spend listening to the radio or watching TV? I think you'll be surprised, Tony, at how little they watch and listen.
I listen to the radio for about an hour every day when I'm in the car driving. But then when I get home, I watch a bit of telly, maybe about an hour.
I tend to spend about 2 to 3 hours a day listening to the radio or watching the TV. Although I tend to spend most of the time listening to my own music.
I tend to spend more time listening to the radio than the TV because I don't have a TV. Probably an hour a day.
I don't spend many hours listening to the radio or watching television a week.
I watch television a lot, far too much. Everyone says so. But I like listening to the radio too, because, well, it's good to listen to music on the radio.
I never watch television, but I sometimes listen to the radio.
Whilst I'm here at college, I watch virtually no TV.
When I'm at college, I listen to the radio for half an hour when I get up in the morning, and I don't watch any television.
Yes, well, that is surprising. Only one person there admits to watching TV a lot.
Yes, for most people, it's just a couple of hours a day. And what sort of programmes are people interested in?
We watch the news in the morning and at lunchtime, and then whatever is interesting in the evening.
We very seldom listen to the radio.
I watch TV a little bit. Probably the soap operas I watch the most.
Yes, I'm not a very disciplined listener to radio. I tend to just switch it on and listen to music when I'm doing a job. I also listen to the talks and current affairs programs, but not in any very disciplined way.
What were the programmes they mentioned? The news? Soap operas? And then the last man likes talks, las tertulias, and current affairs programmes, los programas de actualidad. Tony, which do you think people prefer, TV or radio?
Oh, I'm sure TV is much more popular.
Well, let's find out.
I prefer the radio because then you can make your own pictures.
I don't spend very long watching the television, but I definitely prefer it to the radio. It's more fun.
I think I prefer the radio. I suppose I prefer radio to television because you use your imagination more when you listen to radio.
I think I'd rather give up television than radio if I had to make a choice.
Yeah. Extraordinary. I counted 4 people who prefer the radio and only 1 who prefers television.
Yes, that's right. Ever since television was invented, people have been predicting the death of radio, but it just hasn't happened. Let's go back to the 1950s and find out what people preferred then.
Yes, it's time for the news. And here's a question for you. What plans were being made in the 1950s for the future of television. Over to the newsroom.
Good evening. This is the news from the BBC in London, and these are the headlines. Millions of British people turn from radio to television. Over 10 million people watch television in the United States. And a new film, Ben-Hur, is said to be the most spectacular in cinema history. But for tonight's main story, we go over to our media affairs reporter, Anna Pilkington. Anna, is television the future of broadcasting?
Well, Trevor, up until now, historians have said that radio and cinema would be the most important media of the century. But now, over 1 million people have television sets. So yes, it looks as if television will soon be the medium of the future.
So is this the end of radio?
Well, Trevor, at the moment, the BBC transmits only a few hours of television each day, but they now plan to broadcast 6 hours of programmes daily.
6 hours? Goodness me. How will they manage to fill all that time?
Well, the experts are promising to develop all sorts of different programme types. For example, they say it may even be possible to learn a new language by television.
Well, well. And what about the cinema?
Well, who will want to go to the cinema when you can see moving pictures at home?
Thank you, Anna. And now for the rest of the news. In America, over 10 million people are watching television. So in an attempt to persuade audiences to return to the cinema, the film studios are producing bigger and more extravagant films. Ben-Hur is perhaps the most spectacular film ever made. It stars Charlton Heston and even has a chariot race. But is it good enough to keep people going to the cinema? Only time will tell. Good night.
Well, the cinemas are still here.
Yes, and radio is still here. What about our question? What plans were being made in the 1950s for the future of television?
Well, Trevor, at the moment, the BBC transmits only a few hours of television each day, but they now plan to broadcast 6 hours of programmes daily.
They now plan to broadcast, emitir, 6 hours of programmes daily.
The experts are promising to develop all sorts of different programme types.
The experts are promising to develop all sorts of different programme types.
Including language learning programmes.
Yes. Now, in our last programme, we practised reported speech. There was a good example in the news programme.
Up until now, historians have said that radio and cinema would be the most important media of the century.
Up until now, historians have said that radio and cinema would be the most important media of the century.
What do you think were the actual words, las palabras textuales, spoken by the historians? Radio and cinema will be the most important media of the century.
Remember, verb tenses often change when you're using reported speech. Imagine that Tony is a historian from the 1950s. Listen and then report what he said.
In 10 years' time, radio will be dead.
The historian said that in 10 years' time, radio would be dead.
The cinema has changed the world.
The historian said that the cinema had changed the world.
I saw Ben-Hur yesterday.
The historian said that he had seen Ben-Hur the day before. So, the verb changes, saw becomes had seen, and the time expression yesterday changes to the day before.
And now it's time for
Making yourself understood.
When you're speaking on the telephone, the communication strategies you use are a bit different from normal everyday conversation.
Listen out for all the special telephone expressions.
Hello?
Hello?
Ah, hello. This is Mr. Gonzalez in room 205 here. I wonder if you...
Sorry? Who?
Mr. Gonzalez? Gonzalez. Room 205.
Oh, right. Yes. Hello, Mr. Gonzalez. What can I do for you?
I'd like to watch the football match, but I can't find it in my paper. Do you know when it's on?
It's on television.
Yes, but what time is it on television?
I'm sorry?
What time is the match on TV? Look, you'll have to speak up. This is a terrible line.
What match?
The big match.
Which big match?
The football. What time is the football on television? I want to watch the match on TV.
It's on TV at 7 o'clock.
Thanks. What channel is it on, please?
Sky Sport.
Sky Sport at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes?
Sky Sport is on satellite television.
Yes?
We don't have satellite TV in this hotel. But the match is on the radio as well. Has anyone got a radio?
Those two have such difficulties communicating, don't they?
Yes. Let's look quickly at some of the expressions Juan used.
Ah, hello. This is Mr. Gonzalez in room 205 here.
This is Mr. Gonzalez. Obviously, you have to say who you are on the telephone.
And what did Juan do when the other man didn't hear what he said?
Mr. Gonzalez? Gonzalez. Room 205.
He repeated his name, he spelt his name, and then he gave his room number. In other words, he identified himself in a variety of different ways. So, for example, if I telephone you, I might say, "This is Vanessa Collingridge, presenter of That's English."
Remember, we don't say, "I'm Tony," when identifying ourselves on the phone. We say, "This is Tony."
Just one more thing. The sound quality was bad on the telephone line. What did Juan say about that?
Look, you'll have to speak up. This is a terrible line.
Look, you'll have to speak up. Tendrá que hablar más alto. This is a terrible line.
It's time to stop.
Sorry? You'll have to speak up. I can't hear you.
I said it's time to stop.
Oh, yes. That's all we have time for. Bye.
Goodbye. See you soon.